Hello, listeners, and welcome to a brand new program where we examine the birth charts of celebrities, sports figures, politicians to find out what really makes them tick. I'm Donna Saul with astrologer Francis Dunnery, and you're listening to Behind the Curtain. Francis Dunnery is a chart-topping musician who's toured with some of the biggest names in music history. He's a producer, he's fronted his own band, and he's toured the world writing songs, playing music, and performing in front of hundreds of thousands of people. But what you might not know is the power of his astrology readings. His expertise is deeply influenced by psychologists, philosophers, mythological perspectives, and Eastern philosophies. You can book him at francisdunnery.com, francisdunneryastro.com, or moonstoneandsage.com. Today we're going to be talking about not only Mercury retrograde and the energies of the sky, but we are going to be talking about what I'm not going to say is my favorite person, but I am very much waiting for this, Deepak Chopra. He's an author, a New Age guru, and an alternative medicine advocate. He's a prominent figure in the New Age movement, and his books and videos have made him, brace for impact, one of the best known and wealthiest figures in alternative medicine. So I'll stop there before I get in trouble. Welcome, Francis. Good morning.
Hi, Donna. How you doing? Good morning. How's it going?
Can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
No. All right. I got you now.
You can hear me?
Yep.
You got me now?
Yep.
Was
that Eric came to the rescue again?
He didn't like me again.
No, he likes you. He likes you. I dropped the ball on that one.
I love that intro you give me all the time.
Thank
I love that. But you have to say that I also spent many years as a lap dancer.
Okay, I'll add that in for next week. Okay.
It just ruins it when you put it on the end of the drum.
You really weren't.
He was
right?
also a little drunk and a lap dancer.
Really?
There you go. Sorry. No.
You're gonna add that in. Come on.
So listen, Mercury's retrograde.
Yeah, and I
think
can feel
everybody should know that. But in
Yeah.
the first few days, it went on the 9th. What is it now? The 13th.
13. Yeah.
So here's how this goes. So when Mercury goes retrograde, just so people know this, that there's different aspects of it. One of them is like the accident-prone thing that happens. So there's a lot of computers breaking down. There's a lot of machinery breaking down. There's that aspect of Mercury retrograde. Or there's like the traffic jam thing that happens, like the traffic delays. There's the check didn't come, so you can't go on holiday. There's like anything to do with travel and communication, it comes under the umbrella of Mercurius. Now and Hermes, like there's two gods. There's Mercurius, which is the Roman god, and Hermes, which is the Greek god, and they're both kind of the Mercury people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're tricksters. So poltergeists come under that. And they said that Hermes would turn the signposts around in your dreams so you didn't know where you were going. So there's a trickster thing to it, like it's called the trickster. That's why, the Geminis, it rules Gemini, so the Geminis are tricksters. You have to watch them. They can, with a Gemini, they're very good at they're very mercurial, so you'll start arguing with them about who left the milk out, and you'll be talking, like, why did you leave the milk out? The milk's gone, and before you know it, you end up talking about chicken wire in Russia in the 1830s. And you don't know how you got there. And that's the Gemini thing. You've got to watch them because you can't pin them down. They'll just find another way out. Oof. And so when Mercury's retrograde, that energy of tricksters, of poltergeists, of things moving, of being blocked, of it comes to the front. And so you find that, like with the it's coming up to Thanksgiving and all the airplanes are on hold. And it just so happens every single time, because everybody goes, oh, that's just a coincidence. Every time, dude, every single time, you find all these like huge, just like road blocking, like it's just all the time. But there's another component of this that's far worse for me. It's the emotional component of it, and the emotional aspect of Mercury retrograde, round about the middle. So it'll be round about, I would say, like on the 20th, maybe this time next week even. Now, I don't know because I'm a male, so I'm a biological male, so I don't know what PMS feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But from what women have told me, it's exactly like Mercury retrograde, where you just can't get right with yourself, and you don't know what it is. So that component to it, will happen round about the middle of Mercury retrograde, and that's the stuff. It tends to manifest as like pointlessness, like what you've been enthusiastic for before. It's kind of like, oh God, you just can't get any enthusiasm up, and everything's like depressing. It sucks, and it's like just like there's just like a feeling of like dread or something. I don't know, like I don't know, I don't know what.
That sounds like PMS, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is that what it's like?
Right? Yeah. Multiple variations, but that fits. That's the one that gets me. I can't handle that. I don't mind things breaking and all that stuff. I kind of just like whatever. You put that off, but the emotional stuff. But that down stuff, right? And so basically, what you're saying too is that no matter, and we were laughing about it before we start, but the reality is you can't really get around it, and you can't escape it. Nobody can, right?
The weird thing is when we talk about planetary influence like that, the scientist in me says it's a load of nonsense and all that. And I actually got into astrology trying to prove my friend wrong because he was an astrologer, and I'm just like, get out of here. But the reality of it is, once you become aware of it and you start seeing it, it's like, oh, that's weird. And then the next time it happens again, oh wow, that's so weird. And then the next time it happens again, and wow. And after 35 years, I have to say, and Mercury goes retrograde about 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't deny it anymore, and I don't even know what it is. I don't even know why. I don't know who it is. I just don't know what it is. But I'm telling you, there's a reality to it. Like confirmation bias. No, it isn't. It's insane. I don't know what it is. Some people say it's the magnets. Some people, I don't know. I don't care. I just know that is going on,
mm-hmm.
and I can tell you that. Even my friends who have turned onto it, who've got nothing to do with astrology, they'll go like, "Dude, is that planet Mercury in retrograde?" And I'm going, "Yeah." And he's like, "Damn, I can't believe it. I've just got all this stuff up." And it's time and time and time and time again.
What about these people that say that if you use the energies of Mercury retrograde properly, you can actually almost use it as like a surfboard and to good things, right? To where you want to be. But is that what you were talking about when we talked yesterday about this is the time to clear things out, like kind of smooth your path for what comes next? Or is there a component that if certain people are blessed enough to know how to handle it, they can actually make use of Mercury retrograde?
I think humans, we like our happy endings, don't we? So there's always, even like when there's always like a nice spiritual ending, but nature doesn't have that. That's really what we're talking about. Nature, we're talking about nature. Nature's callous. It doesn't have any nice happy ending. There's no compassion in it or empathy or any of that. It's just, that's what it is.
It is what it is, right?
So I would say, I don't know if there's a happy ending, but what I do know is starting new projects off with Mercury retrograde is a recipe for disaster. Especially if you think about it now, because it puts like a skunk smell on it and you can't get it off. I've started things in Mercury retrograde and went like, I don't care. I'm the great me. I'll show Mercury retrograde. And then it's, it just ends up just a disaster. And so what I tend to do, Mercury retrograde, I try to finish things off. Like I've got to start a new album, but I'm not starting it until the 29th. But what I'm going to do, I'm getting all the components ready. I'm double checking the lyrics. I'm making sure that the chords are right, that the arrangements are. I'm doing that stuff. It's like cleaning out your cupboards, doing all that stuff that you've put off. It's a good time for that, just to clean up the back catalogue and don't start anything new.
So basically, did you start this though before Mercury went retrograde, and you just kind of finished it? So okay. So the things that you start before Mercury retrograde, you can continue working on. You can't launch anything new from scratch. In my
experience, right, which is quite vast at this point, I'm getting on a bit, but I would say that if you think of something in Mercury retrograde, it's when it starts in Mercury retrograde. Like yesterday, I went to buy a new guitar, and I was just about to, and I shouldn't have, but I did because I'm doing my thing. And the guy goes, "Oh no!" I said, "I'm going to come pick it up in half an hour, classical guitar." And he goes, "Oh no! Sorry, you can't. There's a big crack down the back of it." So it's just stuff like that. There's too many things like that. Like the washing machine goes down. It's like just that stuff just goes down, and it just seems like nonsense, but it isn't.
Yeah. It's exhausting too. I mean, just on a personal note, it's exhausting. I have an old house and everything's breaking, and I'm like, great, it's just great. We're going to take a break here from our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to dive into what is behind the curtain with Deepak Chopra. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to Behind the Curtain. I'm Donna Saul with Francis Dunnery, astrologer extraordinaire. He's also a chart-topping musician. I'll leave out that other stuff, Francis, but you can book him for astrology readings, and I do highly recommend that you do at francisdunneryastro.com or moonstoneandsage.com. He will also be at the Moonstone and Sage Winter Magic Market on the 29th, offering all kinds of specials. Check out the website at moonstoneandsage.com. So we're talking about Deepak Chopra, and I know you like to lead with the nice stuff, and then we'll get into the other stuff behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, I had to edit me as it was coming out of my mouth, Francis.
Well, you're the Scorpio. Scorpios are all about behind the curtain.
Yeah.
That's the first thing Scorpios do when you meet them. What's behind the curtain? That's why I call it that. It was in honor of you, Donna. Your Scorpionic tendencies.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's.
I told you that thing with Joni.
Okay.
That thing Joni Mitchell pulled apart Bob Dylan in like a short sentence, and it was genius, and it was probably true as well.
Yeah, maybe we should do him one week.
Bob Dylan, yeah, we can do. He's a Gemini,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Tell us about Deepak.
So Deepak, right? He was I know about him because I've been reading his stuff for a long time, and he kind of took like a scientific approach to, to the New Age kind of movement that came forward. He was before like Eckhart Tolle, he was before all that lot, and but he was actually pulled to pieces on a show by I think it was Lawrence Krauss. All these these astrophysicists, they pulled him to pieces because he keeps talking about quantum this and quantum that. He keeps going on about that, and they were saying, "What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about." So I don't know whether you saw that, but there was a moment where he got literally pulled to shreds. But he was an incredibly important figure on his astrological chart because his main planet on there is Uranus in Gemini in the third house, which means he's very progressive in his communication. Like, he's going to talk about future things. He's talking about stuff that, and he's defined by that. He defines his individuality by the things he says, and it's not normal stuff. So he's not talking normal stuff, about washing machines or something. Like, this is a guy who's ahead of his time in his thought process. Like, he's way ahead of his time. And he's also got the moon in Virgo, so his emotional capacity and his emotional needs are to have to document things and put things in order, to structure things. So he's not only his mind is ahead of the time, he also needs the ability to be able to structure things. Like he can't, like his emotional safety is, like if you hung out with him, he's probably like a real stickler for like rules and regulations or like time schedules and things like that. He's probably that, like if he's doing his moon right, that is. And so his moon is doing that. He's also he's got Mars and Mercury in Scorpio. So I hate to break you the news to you, Donna, but he's very Scorpionic as well. He's a real detective, so he wants to know what's going on behind the scenes. Like he's actively doing that. Like that's a big thing for him. Like he wants to know the truth about what's going on. Like for real he does. He's got Venus in Sagittarius, which means he's religious by nature, and what he loves more than anything else is the different philosophies of life. So he's a real kind of, in his social values are very adventurous. Like, he's not afraid to kind of, he's not like tied to the past. He doesn't, drag like body bags around with him from the past or past stories. Like, he can let them go. Like, he's an adventurer. Like, he probably enjoys going like kayaking or like, outdoorsy stuff. Even though, he's known for his philosophies, he's probably an adventurous guy as well. Also, his partnerships that he wants is, he wants somebody to travel with, somebody to do that stuff with, but he's a disaster in the relationship thing because he sacrifices himself in there. He's got Neptune in there, which means he's probably got some sob story about what happened to him in his relationships. And I don't know anything about him. So again, if anybody can tell me what happened, that would be great. So his relationships are probably a disaster, or he seeks melancholy and self-pity from his relationships. So that's where he gets his sense of sadness from. Or you could say he sacrifices himself for other people. You could say that. But there's something in his chart, which I'll finish up with in a minute, the part that you want to hear.
Yes. sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry. That's my talking out loud voice. Excuse me. Back to what you were saying.
Let me get to the part about Deepak. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
He's a Libra, so he's a contrarian. So if you sit with him, he'll probably, and Libra and males, sometimes they're tough. They're real tough energies to deal with because they do think the rest of us are idiots. A lot of the times they kind of look down on people intellectually, and they are pretty smart. There's no doubt about that. But so Deepak probably thinks he'll probably offer an alternate opinion that from a contrarian point of view, which he'll just say yes if you say no. That's what I'm trying to say. He'll find some way to correct what you're saying or something like that. He's also got Jupiter in Scorpio, so there's 3 planets in Scorpio I'm looking at now. So what renews his faith in life is deep connections with people. Like that's actually what he's, like part of his motives. He's got that in his system. Like he's looking for connection. Like he's not, even though what I'm going to finish up with will absolutely go against all of this, but this is part of his system. So he's a real, I would get along with him great because I've got, my Venus is in Scorpio. And so we'd be able to communicate, he'd probably find me very threatening. I have Pluto in Virgo, so my Pluto would sit on his moon. I'd scare the life out of him. Because he wouldn't want to have. He would just find me disturbing. Put it that way. But here's the key. Now we want to get to. I don't know how long I've got left. I'm trying to get all this in fast.
How much, Eric?
He's got
10 minutes.
He's got 2 planets in Leo in the 5th house, and that is so. First of all, when you put Pluto in the 5th house, it's an absolute, astonishingly, unbelievably over-the-top narcissist. So his narcissism is like off the rails, like insanely, like insane. Like he thinks he's it. And the thing with so what they say, like in astrology, some astrologers would say, more esoteric astrologers, they would say, it shows you what you did in a past life. Now we don't know. I see, as a Capricorn, as an Earth sign, I don't do that. I can use the past life as a metaphor, as I use the crucifixion or any any mythological thing as a metaphor. But I would say in the past, in this life. But esoteric astrologers would say in the past, in a past life, you were the most admired person on the world, and everybody loved you, and you were the glamorous. You were the golden child, and you were it, and everybody thought you were great, and you just absolutely, everybody, you were famous, you were idolized. People idolized you in a past life. Now, because humans gravitate to what they already know, he died in that past life, and he gets born into this life, and humans gravitate, so he goes right back to doing the same thing. So now old Deepak's thinks he's in that past life. But where you see Pluto, you have to look at the opposite to see what he needs to do in this life. Otherwise, he'll get beat up. So his narcissism will be one of the biggest problems he's got in his life, because he should be doing Pluto in the 11th house, which is the group about everybody else. His life's got to be about everybody else. And when he gets to be about everybody else, when it's only about everybody else, then he will be able to live out his proper life. Until that point, he'll get eaten alive in various situations.
Interesting.
With his Pluto.
You could see that.
I'm trying to do this really fast.
No, I know. But one of the things, when you were talking about him earlier, one, if he's a narcissist, no surprise he can't have a relationship, right? But you were also talking about his desire to connect with other people. So it sounds like the 11th house is pulling at him anyway, right? So in the end...
Well, go on, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I'm saying that, all that stuff's there, but this Pluto is a life or death thing. It's the furthest away planet, so it means it's his unconscious. So his unconscious will keep pulling him out. There's another thing in here I want to mention as well, Donna, just before, and then because you'll pass comment on this as well. He also has Saturn there, so he can't see his own shine. He doubts himself. We wait for an audience to clap to feel good about ourselves, but the audience only claps when we feel good about ourselves. And so no matter how much you pour into this guy, he doubts himself. And you can see people with Saturn in the 5th house. If you get somebody like, say, Freddie Mercury, who's unashamedly just a wonderful performer, and Freddie just goes out and does his thing. There's not of Lady Gaga. There's nothing in the way of them. They're all output. They can't wait to show you how fantastic they are. And then you see somebody like David Bowie, who's got Saturn in the Fifth, and even though he was incredibly famous and he was brilliant, and that, you see him, he doubts himself. If you're subtle enough to understand what I'm talking about, David Bowie doubted himself. He didn't quite believe himself in the same way that Freddie Mercury did or Lady Gaga. There's a doubt there. Because they don't quite believe it. There's a little child in there that doesn't understand his own importance. That never, it's usually, he might have tried for a prominence in his early life and not been recognised, or he got the recognition, then it's taken away, which is usually what happens with Saturn in the Fifth. But this is a guy who's an absolute bottomless pit of narcissism. You can't tell him enough because he never gets full up because he can't see it. He hasn't got a plug to put in to fill his bath up full of wow, people love me, it just goes out, it runs out. People go, Deepak, we love you, you're amazing, you're blah 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 blah, and it just runs out because that's what's behind the curtain. Even though he's famous, even though he's been the most successful, it doesn't matter. He doubts his own importance, and he doesn't actually get his contribution that he made to the world.
That's so interesting.
And his narcissism is rampant. Like, it's rampant. So what if you hang out with him, he will swallow you alive, like with his narcissism. Like, it's
that explains it, because I've met him, right? And he's mean. He's terrible. And so, but if you're this person, and I don't know psychology, but this is my thought. If he's this person and he's a complete narcissist and he needs all these accolades and he gets all these accolades, but he has this self-doubt and it never gets filled up. After a while, you can see how somebody might get mean because you're never getting what you really want, right? And
he's aggressive. He's got Mars conjunct Mercury, so he says he's not physically aggressive. He says stuff that is cutting and scorpionic and probably goes right to the bone of people. Like, he says things to people that, like, you said it's mean, but it's cutting. I would say it's cutting. It's like cutting remarks. Thing. I would say that. And so he finds where people might be vulnerable and he'll cut them up there. He'll press that button there. He'll aim his aggressive words there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's kind of fascinating how we live out, and I could be wrong here, but how the planets affect our psychology of who we are, right? And how we live that out knowingly or not knowingly. And obviously the objective is get a reading. No, so you know what you're dealing with. But it's pretty fascinating. Every time you go through this with somebody, you can, just from away, you can understand them more, and it puts in perspective who they are, what they do. And you can see behind the curtain. You can see the background of
Once you get behind the curtain,
acting. Yeah, it's fascinating.
You see that. How long have we got left here now? I'll tell you a story if we've got any time left.
5 minutes.
All right. So, like, fate is a great, doing your fate or doing your dharma or doing, whatever you want to call it, your natural role, God's work. People call it different things. But in a way, we can't really get away from this stuff. There was a guy in New York City, and he's buying some fruit or something at the market stall, and he sees Death walking towards him with his scythe, and he goes, he says, I've got to get away from this, and he drops he drops his fruit, and he gets in a taxi. He says, take me to the airport, and the taxi driver takes him to the airport. He buys a ticket for California. He gets on the plane in California. He says, get me to California. He gets off the plane in Los Angeles. He gets in a taxi and he jumps out of the taxi and he says, take me to the middle of, get me out of here, get me to the middle of, and they drive out into the desert, and there's a little motel right in the middle of the desert, miles from anywhere, and he checks into the motel and he goes up to his room and he slams the door shut, and, he's feeling good about himself. He's like, got away from death, he's like, yeah, and he goes to bed and he's like, yeah, he's like doing all that, and he wakes up the next day and he goes down, he has a shower and he goes down for his breakfast, and he opens the door, and there's Death standing outside his door. And he said, how on earth could you find me here? He said, how possibly could you find me here? And Death said to him, well, I saw you in the marketplace yesterday in New York City, and I was coming over to tell you that we had an appointment today in a little motel in the middle of the desert. Oh, jeez. It's a bit like that.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's like that.
Yeah, it can't outrun it, right? Can't outrun it.
Well, your nature follows you everywhere, and so, because thought is constantly, our thoughts and our essence, life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. It never gives you what you want. It gives you who you are. And who you are is translated into the world in essence. In your it's like you're like magnets, and your essence or your unconscious. There's different words for it in whatever arena you go in. They have different words for it. The religious people say one thing. The nature people say another. The biologists say another. Mm-hmm. But basically, this essence of who we are, we can't get rid of that. And so it's constantly at work. That's what fate is. Like you can't, like a spider just comes out and starts building that spider web. Nobody teaches it what to do. There's no instruction manual. Mm-hmm. There isn't classes for the spiders, anything like that.
Web 101.
Web 101, yeah. It just knows how to do it. Right? Yeah. And so that is what the Hindus call dharma. They thought it was an act of truth. The fly buzzes, it commits an act of truth. The lion roars, it commits an act of truth. There's these things that we do. So Deepak is narcissism, and all that stuff is part of his... it's not wrong. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not wrong. It's designed for him to discover who he is. Like, how am I going to find myself? Well, through this.
Yeah, his path through life, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating. I love this, Francis. Anyway, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. I highly recommend your astrology readings. You called them life-changing when you were badgering me to get one, and I did. And I have not been sorry. Super life-changing, incredibly. You can book Francis at Francis Dunnery Astro, ASTRO.com, and you can find him at Moonstone and Sage on November 29th. He's going to be doing a free lecture on how Saturn in your chart is your salvation, and also offering discounted astrology readings just so you get to know him. So it's the biggest event of the year. Come on out, join us. Meanwhile, we'll see you next week. This has been Behind the Curtain.